Good morning. This is Morning Gym Poetry. And here's my announcement. At yesterday's meeting of the Board of Directors, only one person attended, which made a quorum, and the vote was unanimous to change the name of this weekly program by adding the word poetry to the end of the title. It seemed to be a shame that it took so long to get this right. Poetry being the sole reason for this from the very first day. Hello again. This has always been a poetry reading session, so to say morning gym without the word poetry makes it sound like another outlet for the bad news of the day, which is not in short supply. So here we go. I have a few poems that I wrote to share with you today. All week long I read poetry, and I didn't like most of it. And the poems I did like are really off the subject that I wanted to deal with. So I thought, well, let me dig out some of my own supply and see how they go over. The first poem is going to be about Memorial Day, which comes up at the end of this month, a few days from now. And here it is, Memorial Day, 1941. It is right after World War II began, and Grandma's at Elmwood Cemetery with two grandsons, slightly suppressed by how silent it is, while Grandma Daisy puts new flowers into the urn gracing the graves of greats. My great-grandfather was a sergeant in the Pennsylvania Bucktail Regiment and survived Civil War to attend all the meetings of the GAR as long as he lived. She repeats his history to two fidgeting grandsons. This is a sunny day with soft breeze, sidling through the elms and stirring fresh flowers, waving with the flags over hundreds of gravesites. War is seldom popular now or then, but seldom does it end. That is a lesson completely lost on two fresh boys who like to jump over tombstones to the tune of Grandma's scolding. How can we have a memory of all our ancient wars, and then there's a new war for each generation? Please, Grandma? Yeah, I wrote that poem about 2 hours ago after reviewing some other Memorial Day so-called poems, which I really didn't find very suitable. But let that go. I'm reading more and more now that spring is springing about global warming and how that's going to affect us, or as it's now called, climate change. When the globe did not warm significantly for the last 18 years, and you have to follow the money to understand this, but the people who were backing global warming started calling it climate change. That's a lot less demanding for demonstrative purposes, isn't it? So, like anything else that comes down the pike, global warming and climate change have an upside as well as a downside. So this poem is called Global Warming, the Upside. Garden glows unblowing in warm November air, deadly frost unknowing, pumpkin-colored mums, water lilies floating green, geraniums explode pink bloom, bees confused, still feed, fat squirrels gnaw and groom, Leaves die brightly glowing. Snow, a northern dream. Autumn, unbowing. In a year of green grace, it seems, winter is a distant fear. Yeah, if you live where there's too much cold weather, you may think that global warming is actually a very fine event indeed. Okay, now let's move on to another poem which is built around the idea that spring is also one of the main seasons of the year for allergies. So, as an unrecovered allergist, I thought of a story from my former practice, and all the names have been changed to protect the guilty. It's called Angie's Tale, or in the epigram, How to Conquer Intractable Allergies. When Angie went to school to be a vet, she loved her cats and dogs the best of all. She loved, in theory, every kind of pet, and rats and mice and birds adored, but had to call her doctor. Her eyes were itchy, not to speak of sneezes that woke her up at night and when she read her books. But that was not as bad as were the wheezes grabbing at her chest and bringing panicked looks from classmates, friends, professors, ER docs who loaded her with meds and good advice, admiring all her pluckiness in facing knocks, and everyone agreed her smile was nice. She left behind the cats she loved the most and tried her luck with birds and horses, even cows. A few months seemed to be okay until she lost her tolerance and coughing racked her now. The raging allergies all reached a peak of bad. She spent a few days in the pulmonary ward. Her scores at finals time were very sad, and incompletes were all her final grade. She's selling health insurance now to veterinarians. Yeah, and doing well. She knows exactly what they need. She talks the language and is never a contrarian. Drives an Audi, wears a mink, and never needs to plead. Yeah, the story of Angie. The real cure for allergies is either not to have any or to move away from where they are as quickly as you can. So, I've got another poem which is also a personal family history. My grandfather, and then my father's business, which put me through college and medical school. And it's called a cigar store, and much more. This is a description of the business between the end of World War II and up to the Vietnam War, what it looked like and how it operated. You can get beer here and pickled eggs. You can watch the bartenders chalk in the score of Cards versus Senators or Cubs versus Cleveland, and all the games this afternoon clacking in on the Western Union sports ticker, the only one in town except at the newspaper office. Oh yeah, they have 3 pool tables plus a billiard table for the real aficionados who still play 3 cushion. The cigar humidor really is humidified for the high-class cigars sold here. There are cigarettes for sale, of course, as well as sweet-smelling pipe tobacco, and even chews. The favorite pipe is the K-Woody brand, displayed in abundance. Right next to the tobacco section is the beer bar. Pabst Blue Ribbon, 3.2%, is on tap. And Harley won a prize for selling the most kegs in 1954. Depending on the shift on duty, you might see little Chet in his white shirt and tie, who has to stand on a short stool to reach the tap. He's not even 5 feet. Then, tall Stan, handsome with black hair, but always has a worried look on his face. On your way out, there's a big news rack. You can pick up the Des Moines Register, the Chicago Tribune, and even the Wall Street Journal. Take comic books home to the kids. The shades of all these things flash past my memory on hot summer nights. There was no liquor by the drink then to bring in a better class of customers. No TV either in my town. The cigar store was where it's at for the railroad men. The junior college students over 21, the pool sharks, and the retired guys who always get home late. It's where we had fun between wars and elections. Okay, we live in a totally different, but not necessarily better time now. A better world today, would you say? I'm not so sure. Now contend with this, which is emblematic, I'm afraid, of the times in which we live. The name of this poem is Articulate Skin, and the epigram says, "It seemed like a good idea at the time." This is a generation that really does have skin in the game. Its flesh burdened with a tattoo's impulse, paid for by money that could have fed hungry kids. Expense and pain are the main attributes of addiction. Now we dedicate ourselves to flesh as billboard, but we are not the artist. We are the canvas. Soon enough, the intricate bauble on our neck will ooze and sag and be unrecognizable. A birthmark, a reminder of not so original sin. Flesh is not papyrus lasting for 1,000 years. It is mortal and won't carry your message for long. But save up your money. Soon it is a good bet that ghouls will arise and offer to let you buy your skin to be flayed, tanned, and stretched on a frame. When you die, leave yourself to the parlor that painted you, where your memorable parts can hang on the wall, should your children choose to marvel at your wonders. That's Articulate Skin. Thanks for being here again. Hope you enjoyed the poems, and we're not too appalled by that last one. But if not, either way, next week we'll have poems by other authors, and maybe one from the Bible, which is filled with poetics, as most of you may know if you've ever been in church. Yeah, poetics from the Bible. We may have some next week. In the meantime, enjoy the spring, and let me show you, before you tune out, what I'm looking at today on my kitchen table. lovely flowers from our garden here. There's peonies and roses both. And I'm sitting surrounded by the roses scent. And I can tell you, it's not coming from this picture up here, but from the roses in front of me on the table. Goodbye now. Have a great week, and I hope you'll be with me next week. Bye.